All right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're back.
We're here. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to start? I guess we should start with the opening, right?
Yeah. you
Okay.
should.
It's usually a good spot to start. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Edutainment, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Oh, wait.
Hey!
It's what we do, Jason.
Yep.
My name is Chris Gerwin. I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. I'm very pleased this evening to introduce my two co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton, New Brunswick. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening.
All right, and we'd like to welcome our other co-host this evening, Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Mike, good evening, sir.
Nanu.
We'd also like to welcome all of you tonight and all of you who are joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you so much for your support. So now on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, there is this thing about nature that attracts us all, whether it's wildlife, a clear daytime sky, or the wonders of evening treasures. You know, the more we take time to enjoy the views, the more we can appreciate how special it all is. There are many amazing photographers who spend time capturing these moments to share them with all of us. We are very fortunate to have one of them with us here this evening, wildlife, landscape, and night sky photographer, Jason Dain. We'll have a discussion with Jason about his favorite themes for photography and how capturing these special moments are truly a wonderful experience. Welcome to the program, Jason.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Okay, also tonight, Paul will be providing another interesting Rosanna's Fun Fact. He'll also present our Ask an Astronomer segment tonight. Also tonight, Mike will present another favorite vinyl bud target. He said, pay attention to this one this week, he said so.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll provide us with another practical product of the week talk this week as well. I'll give you a little bit of a celestial event of the week. It's really not going to be the event of the week as so much as we'll be talking a little bit about the moon contest coming up, Shoot the Moon contest. And I'll have all of your wonderful photo submissions to share as well. All those nice aurora shots that you sent in, a little video clip to go with those. So this is a family-friendly interactive live broadcast where we love to share ideas and look forward to your participation. So first up this evening, a conversation with our photographer guest, Jason Dain. Jason, evening, sir.
There you go.
Good evening.
Lisa Fanning says hi, Jason.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get this segment started. We're first of all very pleased to have Jason with us. For those who don't know Jason, you probably have seen some of his work. He is, in my humble opinion, one of the most advanced astrophotographers in the Maritimes and probably even in Canada and very big parts of the United States. He has won in his only 3 years of doing this 2 APODs. And I'll let Jason explain to you what an APOD is in a minute. And his work is just, every time he puts something out, it's absolutely amazing to look at. Also, he does a lot of things with the wildlife and birding. And in fact, I almost got on one of his tours down in Nova Scotia. I was that close to getting it down in Peggy's Cove. And
That was a bad year. A bad year for that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was, because we want to go out and see the puffins, and I knew you were going to be going out, because I asked the tour guide who's doing the thing, and he said it was you, and I said, oh, that's fantastic. Anyway, so you do all that stuff. So having said all of that, Jason, I guess my first question for you is, doing all the things that you do and been doing these things you've been doing for so long, what got you interested in astrophotography? Because I know some people get into it for astrophotography, some people get into it for astronomy. So I guess the question would be to you, which did you get into it for?
Well, I started this when I first got my first DSLR back in 2016. I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could photograph the Milky Way? And that was a target, So I had like a kit lens and a crop sensor DSLR, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I started in my backyard trying to catch the Milky Way, which I did. And I was like, "Ooh, I should go somewhere else and try and see if I can capture it." So I went up into the forest near my house and I captured it. And then I progressively got more advanced as I got better cameras and better lenses. And then I got to the point where I was stacking, and then um, I decided to buy myself a tracker, a star tracker for Christmas, just like a one that you'd mount on a tripod, a portable, thing. And I buy myself a Christmas gift every year. It's just something that I do. uh, so my wife hates me because she never knows what to buy me because I always buy my own stuff. So anyway, I decided to buy this tracker, and I didn't need it till the spring, but I ended up getting it before Christmas. And then a friend of mine in Kelowna has one of these. I can't remember if it's Olympus or Panasonic cameras that basically does the pixel shift, so it can take a longer exposure of the sky without trailing the stars. So anyway, he sent me a photo that he had taken where he'd manually moved his camera over time, capturing the Orion Nebula with his birding lens and his DSLR. And he sent me that picture, and my mind was blown. I was just like, "You did what now?" And so I the next clear night, I put my 200 to 500 millimeter Nikon birding lens on my DSLR on my star tracker, and I just took a picture of just some random spot of the Milky Way in November, and and I stacked it, and I was just like, whoa. so then a buddy of mine went up into the woods one night, and I think nothing but problems. Couldn't get polar aligned, couldn't find Orion, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. But I got my first basic picture of Orion, and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, there's just so much technical stuff going on here that I loved it. And I just kind of dove in from there. So
In our talk a little earlier, you had mentioned that you don't really do a lot of observing, and it's more the photography side. Do you still do you find that you're learning things about the night sky? Because I mean, obviously, when you're doing write-ups about nebulas, you have to research that. But do you have an interest in that part of it too?
I mean, yeah, like you say, I think the first thing I learned was how to find Andromeda by going from one of the legs of Cassiopeia and kind of going southeast and finding Andromeda, because I was trying to, before I got into plate solving, I was trying to visually figure out how to find it. So I was looking at star charts, and I was like 3-star alignments, and it's like, how the heck do I know if I'm pointing in Vega? Like, really, it's just a sky full of stars. It's like, how is this? And this is not intuitive, And it's like it's a frame full of stars. I don't know. So anyway, so I did learn some of the stuff, and I think I have a better understanding of what's what in the night sky now in terms of constellations and when they rise and when they set. And I constantly look at stellarium to set up my targets, and I kind of know when stuff is moving around and where it is, and so yeah, I've kind of learned, but I think it's mostly pragmatic in terms of knowing where to point, as opposed to being really interested in kind of knowing all the constellations and knowing all the stars, and so.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's quite a hobby. Lisa, the one who said hello to you earlier, she did a talk once on how the stars affect the birds. Have you ever gotten into that depth with your birding, or is it those are just things?
No, I think it was in 2008 when we had the last solar eclipse. I think it was in Oregon. I was flying in for work, and I missed it by like an hour. But I read articles about how, the bird song, they had recorded bird songs before, during, and after the eclipse, and noted birds' behavior. They're basically settling in for the night. because the day it started getting dark. And so the birds really couldn't differentiate between an eclipse and nighttime. So I thought that was quite interesting. And I'm looking forward to kind of experiencing that firsthand in April when when I watch the eclipse from New Brunswick. So
So you're coming up to join us. Good stuff.
yeah, I think I'm going to be at the in Doketown with the group there from
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
was it Stefan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm actually going to be leading a birding trip on that, or a birding walk on that as well. So
Awesome.
Right on.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good group he's got together going up there for sure.
yep. So
Yeah. You guys have any?
You got some, I'm sure you've got a few images to maybe share with us.
yeah, I actually just want to tell you a funny story though.
Sure.
Just going back to trying to find stuff. So, Andromeda was one of the second or third things that I maybe photographed, and we were up in the woods. It's really dark, and my friend and I both have our binoculars, and we're trying to find Andromeda, and then trying to actually point our cameras at Andromeda, and probably took us an hour to get pointed and actually get the camera rotated and get it actually centered in the frame. And, it was one of those things where, there's maps of the stars, there's computer processing. It's like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Like, this is just ridiculous. How do astronomers function when they don't, if they can't place themselves in the night sky? And I had no idea what plate solving was at this point. It was just like, I'm a geographic information systems guy, so I know all about coordinates and transformations, and that's my work. So I'm like, this is a simple problem. Like, there's a solution to this. There has to be, so so I started Googling. I didn't know how to call it or what to say. I just said, like, coordinate, searching night sky, and it's like, was it is it Backyard Nikon? I think it was, or APT. One of these softwares programs had plate solving in it, and I thought, oh, there, now I'm set. And it's like, so I had a motorized mount. I got, like I said, I could buy a mount, like a proper mount, and it's like, this problem is going away. It's like, this is something that I can fix. I'm not wasting half my night in a dark sky location trying to figure out how to find Andromeda when I should just be able to say, go here, and I understand how challenging that was for people, before all this technology came into it. But I'm just like, this is an easy problem to solve. Why am I struggling? So
Listen, we've been at Funny National Park. Paul and I, fancy ourselves fairly knowledgeable about the night sky and at least how to find Polaris. And both of us with our scopes, we go to line up and do 3-star, and for some reason, we just cannot align on anything. And that's because our polar scopes weren't pointed at Polaris. They were,
Oh yeah,
they were just off. And we're like, how did we not find Polaris?
something as simple.
it was one of those nights. It was so clear that the sky was just dotted. And as you know, until you use a nice Pro Mist filter or something, all the stars look the same. And it was just like, I thought that's got Polaris.
Yeah, don't even go. That was the other thing. It's like, so, and I'm not that old, but I mean, you look through that polar scope, it's like a pinhole, and it's like, I see a field full of stars. How the heck am I supposed to know if I'm shooting at Polaris or to polar line? So a friend of mine, Christine Rose, who teaches Milky Way photography and does all kinds of stuff here. She just lives around the corner. She got me onto this. It's like a laser pointer that screws onto the polar scope of my Milky Way, for my small tracker.
Yeah.
And, I would set that thing up and I would look through it and I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm like hunched over backwards, trying to look through this little thing. And I'm looking at a sky full of stars thinking, okay, I know I'm pointing north, and it says 44 degrees on the indicator, but who knows if I'm pointing at Polaris. So most of the time I was just guessing. And then once Christine got me on this laser pointer thing, I was just like, my God, where have you been all this time?
How did we ever get by?
Yeah, that was a game changer for sure. And I have 2 mounts out in the backyard running. It's clear here in Halifax, and I've never even looked through the polar scope. People, I looked at the instructions. How do you set the polar scope up? I'm like, nope, not interested. I'm plate solving.
The one we want to be focused on is this, yep.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's my eyes or what, but I mean, they're so dim and there's so many stars. It's just, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, well, we've experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, really, it's all about photography for you anyway. It's not really about the alignment is something, but you're more interested in getting things set up, and then I start from there, right?
yeah, get locked
Yeah.
onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah, tonight, like, so I built these two. So woodworking was the previous passion prior to astrophotography. So I have a full woodworking shop. And when I was first doing astro, I was like carrying my mount out, carrying my telescope out, putting it on the mount, balancing it, and it's like, this is stupid. Like, I can solve this problem. So I like designed this, little off-road cart that is kind of like a T that has a little tray for my stuff and a milk carton on it. And I bungee the mount down to it, and I have my telescope and everything's wired. And I have a shovel handle with a hinge, and I can basically roll these things out into the backyard. I put them up on little blocks so that the rubber tires aren't kind of, moving around in the wind or what have you. And from the time I can get basically from the time I hit open on the garage door to the time that I'm coming inside after getting polar aligned and setting up my plan, I'm like less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
Nice.
So it's I generally know where to place the wheels pointing at Polaris in my backyard, and with plate solving, it's a couple minutes per scope.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can go inside because everything's automated, the focusing, basically I don't have to touch it, and then I just let it go all night. So
Plate solving has just been kind of like opening up a new door, right, guys? Like for you guys, and you guys are using a lot more. You do more than I would.
Technology for what we do is just gone by leaps and bounds, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing for me, I've always been interested in computers. So I used Stellarium. I did the laptop thing, or not Stellarium, but the Raspberry Pi sort of freeware device. I used that for a while, and then I got an ASI Air. So I've been in IT for 20 plus years. So I didn't have to learn that part. I didn't have to learn the photography part because I already knew that. So, it's like, well, how did you get into it so fast? It's like, well, I already knew a lot of the stuff. So, setting up devices and having stuff communicating, and, that's what I do for a job. So I didn't have to, mess with all that stuff. So, mess with learning. So I just had to learn the astro part of it.
Yeah.
Getting all the hardware communicating and getting everything talking to each other, and just sort of came naturally to me. So,
And that can be a big frustration for a lot of people.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Like I mean, my wife is a very intelligent woman, but she's just not technology centered. So doing something like astrophotography would just be beyond frustrating for her.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't, so for people that are interested in it, I'm sure it's a big lift to do that. So I really got to hand it to those people that have overcome that, because that can be really challenging for some folks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Remember Adrian Borda saying years ago about him taking film camera out and spending the whole evening capturing some shots and then waiting until they come back from the developer and finding out they're all out of focus.
Yeah. And
On a barn door mount that he's turning a quarter of a turn every minute.
I was just going to say, he's spending the whole night with all hunched over an eyepiece, trying to keep centered on a star so that.
Yeah. Now you just push a button and go to bed.
Yeah. Anybody who can do that, who's got that kind of tenacity, hats off to you, because that's something else.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. We're going to take a break here just for a little bit. We're going to go to a Bino Bud segment, and then we're going to come back and have a look at some of your magnificent images that you've got to share with us.
See if I can find my screen here. Where's number one? All right, binocular target of the week this week by Bino Budges. Are you ready for this? Stock 2, a muscle man cluster. Wait for it. Then reality sets in. So stock 2, or LUN 71, the muscle man cluster, is an open cluster of 54 stars in Cassiopeia. This is one of the 24 open clusters compiled by Jürgen Stock in the 1950s. So where would I find it in the sky? Well, by now, if you've been watching Bada Bub, we're getting used to seeing this W in the sky at Cassiopeia because we've been all around it. And if you can find your way down to the double cluster from these N2 stars, if you take the very last star and come down towards the double cluster, it's about 2/3 of the way down, you'll hit stock 2. Really, it'll jump out at you as you're scrolling down. Or if you're technical at 2300 hours and orient yourself 15 degrees north-northeast, look up and point your binoculars up there and you'll find them. What will it look like? Well, again, there's a double cluster right there. So it's pretty close. You might even be able to get it in the same field of view, but might look upside down. You got his arms up here going both directions, down through his abdomen, and then the legs going each way on each side. And it does kind of look like a muscle man, pumping his arms up. Here's a quick showing with the drawing of if you can compare the two, and you can see where you get a muscle man out of that. And in 10 by 50 binoculars, this is what you might see. Now this one's sideways, but again, I put the drawing on here so you can make out where it is. There's his head and his arms coming down. He's got them pumped up by his ears and his legs. Compared to the full moon, it's at least 2 full moons. So it's a pretty big object, should be easy to find. You shouldn't have any trouble when you're coming down there. Again, if you can find the double cluster, it's about 2/3 of the way down and you'll hit stock 2 and it'll jump right out at you. How much is the moon worth? $1 because it has 4 quarters, and that's that joke of the week.
Awesome.
That's binocular target of the week by Bono Bud.
Thanks,
Oh,
Mike.
that's funny.
Appreciate that. Good one. The before and after shot, huh?
Yeah. In my 20s and in my 60s.
Yeah. Or what you think you look like and what you really look like.
That's right. The whole what do they call it? The mirror effect at the exhibition.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So Jason, you have some captures there we'd like to have a look at.
Sure, yeah. I'll just share my screen here.
Give us a little bit of background there.
And I'll just jump into some of the photos here. So,
There you go.
so this is one of the shots that I took during a KP8 storm in Norway last winter.
Oh.
I was up there for some wildlife photography and northern lights. So this is on a place or on a lake called Lake Tornetrask in Abisko, Sweden. Probably about 72 degrees latitude or so. In this case, I'm actually looking east because the solar storm was so strong that night that the north was clear, but everything from east to west and south was quite bright. So another shot from that same night was here. So you can see this was actually looking south. So there was quite a bit of color in the sky and naked eye visible, and even here, even overexposed some of it. So this was a similar sometime. So that whole night was just crazy.
So how much of that would be naked eye visible, Jason?
Wow.
Like a lot of the green, or?
Oh yeah, all the green and the colors, the purples, the blues. That was all.
Really?
These were 1 second exposures to not overexpose the overexpose the aurora. So it was quite a dark sky and quite bright aurora. So
Wow.
so then
Once-
a few days before that, I was in Finland, in about an hour north of Helsinki. I wasn't planning on going out to shoot the aurora, but there was quite a strong storm forecast, so I rented a car and drove up north. And Tampere, that was the name of the city. So this is quite an event that was really something. Even until about 4 o'clock in the morning, when I finally just started to go home, there was still quite a bit of green in the sky.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I've done some aurora here in Nova Scotia. This is a photo from Pleasant Bay. This is a screenshot, but I don't have. So this is just over Pleasant Bay, looking out over the water. Not quite as. Yeah, back in April. That's right.
You say Pleasant Bay is in Cape Breton?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, up in the Highlands. And then I've also done. Here's one in my friend Simon and I at Martinique. This was. I think this was March of 2022. So there was a storm. We waited until like 11:30 at night before it finally did something. That was sort of in my aurora infancy. Was kind of the first good shot about it that I got, and actually that was one of the astronomy pictures of the day that I got. Was for another image taken that same night.
Thanks.
And then let's see here. This is one from in Finland, northern Finland, up at a ski resort where I was up, 300-400 meters above the rest of the area, and it was probably my last night there. So,
Incredible.
So yeah. Let's see.
So when you're that far north, Jason, so it looks like the auroras are quite a bit higher in the sky. Is that your experience?
Yeah, for sure. I think the when you get here, we need the BZ value to be negative in order to kind of see it at the south end. But there, even if the KP or the BZ value is north, and it's like KP1, you're seeing activity like this.
Wow.
It doesn't take much activity at all to really get the sky moving, to get the lights. I think this night there wasn't much activity at all forecast, and it was still 45 degrees up into the sky, and quite active with sort of curtains, and the pillars were quite obvious, and not just like the horizon glow like we see here. At 45 degrees latitude, you're right in the center of the aurora oval. So,
I mean, I can't imagine stepping outside and thinking that's just a normal night.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
And put a tip in your astrophotography though. Deep sky imaging and stuff.
I wonder though, with deep sky imaging, I'm guessing that the aurora would really throw you off. Because if you were trying to image something in that green and red, and that would have to mess up your deep sky stuff.
But I mean, if you see that every night, you never used to it. It'd just be phenomenal every night. Like, wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Ever changing.
Probably not a lot that you would tire of to look at something like that.
Not at all.
Amazing.
Not at all.
So yeah, I've actually spent a good bit of time recently trying to learn more about, the sort of the science behind the aurora. That's kind of my latest topic of interest. So I'm a member of a group called, or a guy on Facebook and Instagram called Adrian Modi, I think is his name. He's at Night Lights Films.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
his, yeah.
Yeah, I subscribe to his content, and I've actually subscribed to his. He's got like a 12-hour aurora chasing course, so I've actually signed up for that, and he gets into a lot of the technical details, which I find really interesting, and actually correlating, what you're seeing on these different indices versus what's in the sky. It can seem a lot like an inexact science, but there is actually quite a bit of, you know. Quite a bit of there is a lot of science to it, and a lot of it is really unknown, but there are some, the one thing he always says is that the KP number is kind of the least dependable bit of information, which is what most people really live by. But to be honest, it's the last thing that you should really look at. It tells you that something's going on, but some of the apps like Space Weather Live have other indicators like the BZ value and the particle density and the particle speed and those things, particle temperature, those things are really more telling than the KP value in terms of what you're seeing. So that's been really helpful for me to kind of get a deeper understanding of, okay, when is it worth giving up a night's sleep and when is it not?
I'll take last night, for instance. I mean, so NOAA and NASA seemed to agree on the fact that we were going to be getting something. G2 level they called for. I know they said KP is 6 or 7, and I watched that BZ number and I was waiting for it to turn negative, and it didn't really turn negative at all evening. I thought, okay, there's something there that's not happening. But I mean, it's difficult to predict, and it's difficult to tell people, and you want to get the information out there, but then when it's done, it's like you feel bad.
Well, I had actually planned on going up to Amherst last night, and I started looking at some of the more detailed things that I've learned about the different satellites, like through the work that Adrian has done. Looking at the 2.5 hour and then the 1 hour data, and it's like, there's nothing there. So I'm not going to bother at this point. And the skies were clearing here. And, I basically just kept watching the indices and I checked them every couple hours through the night, and I never went out. And lots of people, based on that KP number, went out and spent 4 or 5 or 6 hours standing out in the cold and saw nothing. So, and that's the aurora chasing and not finding part that can get quite frustrating.
Absolutely, yeah. I have to do a lot more investigating on that myself. Here's Jason. He's asking, can you talk a bit about the exposure time for your shots in the Maritimes versus your travel shots? People don't understand our images here are a longer exposure.
So the more color you have in the sky, or the more intense the storm, the shorter your exposure needs to be in order to saturate the pixels. So, for example, if I'm shooting at ISO 3200, in this case at f2, this was like a 1 second exposure, and really the part that I'm exposing for is the brightest part of the curtain just above the horizon. And to be honest, I try to underexpose my shots because my Nikon cameras are what's called ISO invariant. So what that means is there's no noise penalty in shooting at a low ISO and adding to it later versus shooting at a higher ISO in the field and trying to get the exposure right. So even if the picture looks black in the field, I can add, say, 5 stops to it in post-processing and get the same result as I would if I was actually shooting at that ISO out in the field. And Canons are to a certain extent, Sonys are not, I believe. So typically I'll shoot at a lower ISO to get a higher dynamic range, which means the sort of the width or the difference between the brightest part of the image and the darkest part of the image. So the lower the ISO, the better the colors, the broader the dynamic range. So I try to shoot, as low as I can. So 1600, 3200 if I have to, but a fast lens is really the best way to go about it. And the shorter the exposure also helps you get that definition. So you can see here, there's a lot of these pillars that would just get blurred If you took a 5 or 10-second image, when the aurora is really popping, when you get a substorm, you'll sort of blur that detail with a longer exposure. So, I try to keep my exposures, maximum 3 seconds. If it's really faint, I'll go 5, but I might not even bother taking the image if I have to go that long.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Somebody said, what is the yellow right at the horizon? What is the yellow right at the horizon there? I guess in that shot.
In
Right
like
there.
here,
More.
this is a town over on the left.
Okay.
And then this is just aurora coming up behind the mountain. So, so typically you wouldn't see this amber color. This is more light pollution. There's other ski resorts and there's a little town. I think this was Munio, Finland. You can see that in, I believe it's this shot. This amber color here is light pollution.
Okay. Yeah.
Reflecting off the clouds, and then all this color here is the aurora.
But to feel the stars, I mean, it's incredible the amount of stars you see in your shot with 1 second shot. I can't believe it's crazy.
Well, I'm shooting the other thing, I'm shooting a 24 millimeter 1.4 lens.
Okay.
So it's a most people are shooting a kit lens that might be f 3.5,
Right.
f4. So I mean, I'm 16 times as much light in that lens if I'm shooting it wide open.
Right.
On a full frame sensor at ISO 3200. So that's heaps and heaps of light. So
amazing. Wow.
And that's the trick. And the same thing goes with Milky Way photography. So here, you're shooting, 5-10 seconds, you start to get beyond that, then you start getting star trails. So, at 24 millimeters, you want to keep it to about 10 seconds. So the faster lens lets you get more light in. So,
yeah.
So are you using the same lens for pretty much all of like your aurora and your Milky Way?
Yeah. So I have Rokinon or Samyang, same difference. 24 millimeter f1.4. That's my kind of nighttime, astrophotography lens, I guess you'd call it. So I use it for Milky Way. I use it for aurora. I've just recently got a Sigma, a 14 millimeter 1.8 lens to try and do some more wider field. This is an image that I took. It's actually a panorama, so it's 2 shots taken with my 24 to kind of simulate the kind of image you can get with a 14. So I like that field of view at 14 better than 24. So that's what I'm going to start. I haven't really given it a good test yet, so I just got it last week. So anxious to get some good aurora on it. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you make out with that. I have a 14, but it's a 2.8. And if I'm doing this kind of stuff, I like to bring the 14 just because you can get so much more in it. And,
I have a 14 2.8 as well, but going to the 1.8, the 1.8 is 4 times as much light.
Yeah.
So it should make a big difference.
What's your body that you're using?
I have 3. I have typically I'm using a Astro Modified D850. And so I think the Astro Modified helps you get a little bit more of this red, because you're letting in some more of the hydrogen emission spectrum than a regular camera would. So, and then I'll use either one of my Z8 or my Z9 mirrorless bodies as a second camera. So typically when I'm out shooting the aurora, I'll have a 12 millimeter and a 24 going at the same time. And I can create time lapses or take individual stills or, but I usually like to have 2 cameras going if I can.
Yeah.
Amazing work, Jason.
I was wondering how your reds turned out so nice and so, so evident.
Yeah, I think it's the modified camera that makes the difference. So I have my D850 it's got a visible plus H alpha modification. So you set a white balance based on the snow or a gray rock, and you go from there. So the image looks pink on the back of the camera, or you can set like a default color temperature so that it looks kind of normal. But in post processing, you can set the white balance based on either the snow or a rock or something, and it looks good.
Wow.
So yeah, white balance can be tricky when the whole sky is green, because it's hard to find a spot to get something good. I found it even reflecting off the snow. You can't even really use the snow because it's green too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So
sure.
you got to hunt for something that isn't being colored by the sky to set your white balance on.
Fantastic images.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to pause there, Jason, because we want to come back to some more of your images. We're going to maybe go into an Ask an Amateur, a quick product of the week. We're going to come back to some more of your amazing images there. We still got a lot there to share. Okay, Paul, do you want to lead us in with the Ask an Amateur maybe?
All right, sure. Okay. Okay. Jason, can I get you to stop sharing there? And
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. No, I mean, we'd love to just leave it up and look at it.
Stop share. There you go.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so let me see if I can get some stuff together here on my own. Now, is this the... There's the sound.
Yay!
Maybe I'll show the picture. Does that help?
Not either.
Oh my gosh, just give me a sec here.
Make sure you share a sound when you click share, Paul.
What's going on here? All right, so I gotta share my screen, share moi screen. There we go. And then we'll try that one more time.
There we go.
All right. And this week, we're going to talk about Ask an Amateur. And if you have questions, by the way, folks, that you want to send in to us, we're more than happy to answer them for you. That's what this forum is all about. So I'm just going to stop the share on that screen just for a second, because I want to go to another screen that I actually have up that I'm going to use that we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to stop sharing just for a second. And before I even go into that, I just want to have a little talk about what the question is. And this week, the question comes from Josh, and he wants to know, how do I know and where do I go to look for auroras? Now, I guess this is kind of a question that all of us get asked all the time. Anybody who photographs the aurora and posts a picture of it have then marked themselves as the guy to get the questions answered from, so I don't have to do anything. Folks, you got to learn a couple of things. And the things you got to learn are very, very simple. The first thing you have to do when you want to find out where to look for an aurora is to figure out where's north. That's the first thing you need to know, at least from our perspective here in the Maritimes. So let me just share my screen now, and I want to show you how to find north if you don't know how to find north. So I'm just going to share, I believe it's this one. There we go. And you should be looking at basically a bunch of constellations and a black portion of the on the bottom. The black portion on the bottom is because we're at nighttime, and that is actually the ground that we're standing on. So how do you find north so you know where to look? So all you have to do is look up in the sky. I think most of us, anybody who's older than 11 or 12, will probably know where or have seen the Big Dipper. So all you got to do is look for the Big Dipper first. It's the first constellation you're going to see in the nighttime sky, and it's actually pretty much in the north. So once you see the Big Dipper, you're looking in primarily the right direction. If you want to look due north, because the Big Dipper kind of, it goes around in a circle 24 hours a day, so it's in different parts of the sky throughout the night. So if you want to look true north every time, then you just need to find the North Star or Polaris. And it's really easy to find. Look at your Big Dipper, go to the very end of the bowl of the Big Dipper. There's two stars, the two in the very end. Follow those two stars until you see the next brightest star. That is the North Star, and it's called Polaris, and it's also part of the Little Dipper. Once you're there, so long as you're looking in that direction, first of all, you have found north. If you want to kind of get an idea which way is north in the daytime, just remember that the sun comes up in the east and it sets in the west. So if you're facing north, the sun's going to come up on your right side and it's going to set on your left side. If you're facing south, which is the wrong way, the sun's going to come up on your left side and it's set on your right side. So that's all you got to remember is the sun comes up in the east, make sure it's on your right side. And if you've got your arm stretched out pointing at the sun as it comes up, when you're looking straight ahead, you're looking north. So that's how you find north in the daytime. So when you're driving around, you're trying to figure out where is a good spot to look at this. That's one of the things you need to know is where is north. Now, the second thing you need to do is get away from the city lights. You need to be in a dark sky to enjoy this at its full potential. So the darker the sky you can go to, the better it is. So don't drive into a city if the city is north, because you're just going to frustrate yourself. Drive away from the city if the city is north, or keep going until you're on the other side of it and keep going until you can get to a dark part of the sky. So you need to have a dark sky. Number 3 is you want a very low horizon, because with here, as you may have noticed on Jason's photographs, if you're up really up north where he was at 70 whatever it was degrees latitude up there, then you can actually see the whole circle of the aurora, because you're actually below where it sits. Where we are typically when we see the aurora, it's because we're sitting so low in latitude. A lot of the aurora that he was showing, we don't see that separation between the aurora and the ground. We only see the aurora behind the ground. So the lower that we can get, the better, the lower the horizon is, the more of that aurora you're going to see, a wider piece of it, the whole thing. And finally, number 4 is look, when you start to realize where north is and where you live and you want to go someplace to get a good shot of the aurora, I'm going to stop sharing. Find a place that's got an interesting foreground in it. And there's lots. You just got to look. And so when you know when an aurora is coming and you want to take that money shot or that APOD shot that Jason got, have something really interesting in the foreground to make that a really strong photograph. And it'll be something you'll be proud to have for years and years and years. And if you're just doing this for likes, you'll get a ton of them. So other than that, that is this week's Ask the Amateur. There you are. I'm not going to do the screen thing.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, we already heard it once. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Good points. All good points, because that was a lot of the questions that I was getting last night. I know Jason and I have talked about the same thing. Which way do I look, and where do I look, and what time do I look, and
yeah,
it's all that, and it just takes a little bit of legwork. I mean, people were asking me, I'm in Halifax, where should I go? The first thing I would do, or I'm in Moncton. Can you tell me any place around Moncton? I don't know Moncton very well, so I would suggest what I would do, or what I have done, is just bring up Google Maps, and I find out where I live, and I look at the satellite view, and I see some areas around, maybe Tucker Park or Dominion Park, and you can usually find. I mean, if you know your area at all, you're 2 or 3 kilometers around your house, you'll find some place that'll give you an idea of where I might be able to set up a local beach or whatever. In some place that then you can drop your pin right there and take a look around and see if that's north and what kind of a view you'd have. So it's pretty simple. You just need to take a few minutes to prepare yourself before you go out for the aurora, because like we've seen in the past, aurora just pops up. We expected a good show last night. There was nothing. Apparently it was some maybe this morning, but practicing your camera settings ahead of time, getting the idea of what ISO means, and taking a few shots maybe the night before just to see what your camera does reveal, kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, it's those are really good points, and it's easy to do for sure. Okay, we're going to go from there to a product of the week, and then we're going to come right back to Jason again and get a look at some more of his fantastic images. Mike, you want to bring up a product of the week?
I figure out where my share button went
We're
to.
running a little bit long tonight too, folks. I mean, it's 8:51. We've got some photos yet to share. We have a Rosanna's talk, a little video, so we're going to run long, but who cares?
Alrighty. MacGyver product of the week, or product or tip of the week this week is power banks. Now, all of us that have these, the computerized telescopes or powered mounts, we've been looking around these, big battery packs to run our systems with. Some of them have car batteries in them. They're pretty big, they're pretty heavy, they're a good chunk to carry around with you. Well, I went shopping the other week because of battery technology. Things are moving fast like everything else. And I came across this. It's a power bank that's not much bigger than my cell phone. Now, this one here is 24 amp hour, 88 watt hours. It has an AC built into it. I actually ran my laptop for over 4 hours off it. And it was like, wow, this thing is unbelievable. It comes with a charger. It charges at 15 volts. And it takes 4 hours to charge. Like I said, it has the AC. It has a 12 volt input. It has a 3 to 9 volt USB, and then a second USB. And I'll tell you, this rig, it's not a bad little rig. I bought it on Amazon for $159, and I can strap that to the leg of my tripod using a piece of Velcro. That's how nice it is. And I'll tell you what a difference it makes from lugging that great big battery pack around. And, always chucking it in the back of the car, making sure it's charged. This thing here is no different than grabbing my cell phone and taking it with me, strapping it to the leg and using that to power my gear with. So this, take a look, nowadays with the way technology is going, these power banks are getting more and more out there. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more portable and a lot easier to use. And I've been reading a book about anti-gravity, but it's impossible to put down.
No.
Oh, wow, they're getting bad.
That's the last word of MacGyver's product and tip of the week.
Paul, are you giving him lessons, Paul, or what?
Huh?
Are you giving him lessons or what?
There's the power bank there, by the way.
No, that's awesome.
Like I said, it's not much bigger than a cell phone, a little bit thicker, but I've ran 4 different mounts off it already on a single charge, and I ran my laptop for almost 4 hours, and I'm still showing 71%.
So what kind of battery is it? Like, what's the chemical makeup of
My
it?
guess is lithium ion.
Yeah, for temperature, right?
Same as the ones you buy to charge your cell phone and stuff, but this one here is 12 volt output, and it's got an inverter built into it and a light.
Yeah.
And it's a great little rig, man.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I can Velcro that to my leg and I'm off to the races.
Yeah.
Your telescope leg, not your leg.
Unless you're running.
Yeah, maybe, whatever.
The one thing that's interesting about that, and anybody who's in the photography world, I do a lot of I've been doing a lot lately of studio photography and stuff. And the portable flashes, first of all, that you're getting now are so much more powerful. But the trouble with a lot of them was you had to plug the darn things in. But now they're all coming out with these amazing lithium batteries. And I can take say a 200 watt flash, and I can shoot it 500 times at full power on one charge, which is unheard of until of late. And this stuff that's coming out. So all the flashes that are coming out now are all coming out with lithium batteries built in them. So this day of the A batteries or plugging stuff in, it's really starting to become a thing of the past. And because of that, you're a lot more flexible as to what you can do and where you can go.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So that's awesome, Mike. I'm going to probably look at getting one of them myself.
Me too. For the Christmas list right there.
There you go.
Okay, Jason, could you bring us back up with a few more shots? We're going to take a look at some DSO objects that you've captured now, and then we're going to flip back again to our Rosanna's fun fact right after that.
Okay, and Tim Doucette was asking, what was the make, Mike? Do you know what the make of that was?
Yeah, Sinkeu, Sinkeu. It's on Amazon.
KEU, okay?
SINKEU.
All right. Well, I think I'll start with this one. This one's got to be my favorite deep sky object out there. This one's called the Boogeyman Nebula, and it's in Barnard's Loop in Orion. It's kind of opposite M78, and it's kind of a dark nebula mixed in with a bunch of hydrogen. So it's kind of an odd little object with some of the sort of these pillars and sort of concentrated dusty star creation areas. So it's a fairly interesting one, both in shape and in composition. So it's got a little reflection nebula, dark nebula emission. It's kind of one of those a whole bunch of stuff going on ones. So I really like this one, and probably will spend some more time imaging on this one this winter.
It's awesome.
This is the Spaghetti Nebula. So I spent I know I spent over 50 hours collecting data on this one because it's very faint. And this was my first APOD. So this was a big effort, and it was nice to get recognized by NASA on this one. So
Jason, for those who don't know what an APOD is, could you tell them what that is?
yeah, so so APOD is basically two NASA scientists that basically curate an astronomy picture of the day, and they probably get hundreds or thousands of submissions by astronomy folks all over the world, and they pick one, and it's been going for I'm not sure how long it's been going for, to be honest, decades probably. Based on their history, if you go on the NASA, is it apod.nasa.gov, you can see the archive of all the photos that they've picked, and it's stuff from the Hubble telescope right down to stuff like me in people's backyards. So it's a really good collection of images, and basically they'll do a write-up of what it is that you're looking at, from a professional astronomer's perspective. So they give it some of the details.
So what's going on in that nebula? Wow.
This one is, I believe it's W63. So this is a supernova remnant in Cygnus, which it doesn't get imaged very often because, again, it's really faint. And you can see the shell, the oxygen shell, and then the hydrogen around it. So, this year I've really taken on some really kind of challenging and sort of more obscure targets. There's lots of people shooting Orion and Pleiades and stuff like that, and I like those targets as well. But I'm really shooting for the more complicated stuff lately. So. Doing 25 plus hours of integration and really trying to go that extra mile on stuff. So here's a more common target. This is Andromeda Galaxy with some of the hydrogen bits. So I think I shot about 25 hours on this one, including the hydrogen, to bring out some of the embedded nebulae within the arms of the galaxy. So these are like, if you were in one of these arms looking, these would be like the Orion Nebula or other hydrogen emission nebula within that galaxy. So I thought, boy, it'd be really cool to have a telescope that could image nebula in other galaxies. That'd be something. But that's probably not kind of beyond my spending limits if I ever want to retire. So
Well, just wait for the James Webb to go down in price.
It's funny. A good friend of mine, Simon D'Entremont, told me when we got into astro, he had been into it before, and he said, you really got to be careful. He said, with wildlife photography, you can buy a top of the line body and lens, maybe spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. He goes, but with astrophotography, there is no ceiling. So yeah, you can go down as far in the rabbit hole as you want to go. You can build an observatory on the top of a mountain in Hawaii. You could launch a space telescope. He said, so just be careful. So, and that's, I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole to a certain extent, but that was pretty sage advice, I'd say, from him.
So true. Yeah.
So this is another couple of, I forget the names of these ones, but these are a supernova remnant and then another object. This one is actually, and like the Spaghetti Nebula, this one's actually taken with a camera lens. This is taken with a 135 millimeter f2 camera lens.
Wow.
So as is with this one, so this is taken with an astro camera and HA data with sort of red, green, blue data. So this is the Dark Shark Nebula. This is the, oh, I forget the name of this one. And then this is the, there's an emission nebula or a couple of reflection nebula. So, you don't need a super fancy telescope. This is a pretty basic astro camera hooked up to a camera lens on a pretty basic mount. You're able to create images like this. So, and actually I find it quite fun using this setup because it can capture such a huge piece of the sky and it's a very fast aperture. So you get lots of light, kind of like one of those RASA telescopes. You can image a target in an hour or two, whereas at f2 or f2.8 versus an f5.6 or an f8 telescope.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So I noticed that like on your shots like these really wide ones, like you really see a lot of difference in the stars in terms of size and based on their brightness. Is the part of the filtration that you're using giving you that, or is that just kind of a little bit of the processing as well?
Well, I think, in the star reduction, you probably lose some of the smaller stars. So you may see, more of the bigger stars left behind. So, this is, some of these objects are in the Milky Way, so they're very starry, just like the Veil Nebula. If you look at an image of the Veil Nebula, geez, you can barely make out the nebulosity. But once you start to reduce the stars, you can really, really see what's going on. So, so this one has.
So that's
Sure,
part of the processing then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then one last. This is the Pleiades, which is one that I sort of cut my teeth on. So this was one of the first targets that I shot with my mono. When I went to mono imaging from color camera imaging. So this one's made up of luminance, red, green, and blue filters, all shot separately through a mono camera that doesn't have the bare filters on each pixel. So you're shooting each individual color channel separately and then putting them all together. So two of my three setups are mono, and my third wide field one is a color camera. So I mostly do mono these days.
I remember when you shot that. That was that turned out really, really nice.
Yeah, and I also like to dabble in Milky Way photography. So this is a Milky Way image taken down near Peggy's Cove. This one actually won the RASC astrophotography contest.
Yes, I remember that.
Three or 4 years ago. This is probably one of my favorite images of the Milky Way, and we're blessed here in Nova Scotia to have lots of nice coastal areas with really great foregrounds with boulders and trees and islands, and similar to the Fundy Coast in New Brunswick, there's lots of Hopewell rocks and places like that you can get some really great compositions. So
Incredible.
Yeah, that's just stunning. The saturating.
Wow.
So it's interesting, the difference. I'll just talk quickly about this. This one is taken with an unmodified camera without a tracker. And then this one was taken with a modified camera on a tracker, so longer exposures. So you can start to see some of the red nebulosity here, and some of the red in Rho Fuci, and some of the embedded nebula like the Eagle and the Swan in the Milky Way start to show up with more color. So, and I think there's a little bit more of a red cast to the clusters of stars in the Milky Way that you get with a modified camera. So, I think that shooting the Milky Way with a modified camera gives you a little bit more color than you would otherwise get. So,
Oh, that's amazing.
Fantastic.
all right, just two more quick ones, just to anything that's fair game for me in the world of the sky. So I did a lunar eclipse here a couple of years ago when we had one. So I just created this composite of what the moon looked like at various times. So I set up and basically shot a time lapse from a location not far from my house. So I just sort of picked the progression of what it looked like. So that was fun. Then it's hard to see in this picture, but I was out birding and there was a sunrise where you could see the sun dogs.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
You can see, if you kind of look at it with averted vision, you can kind of see it. And then I did capture the zodiac light as well. I'm just looking for, I don't think I have it in this folder. So I've captured the zodiac light, and then I've done some star trails as well. So
Wow,
I've kind of played around with a lot of different techniques in the world of astrophotography. So
that's at Peggy's Cove, is it?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Wow. Well, that's pretty impressive work that you've been doing, considering you've been at it for 3 years. I still can't believe it. It's unbelievable what you're able to accomplish. But again, I think it's like anything else. If you have the passion for it and you truly want to immerse yourself into it, you can surprise yourself, I think.
Yep. No, it's I'm fairly driven, and I enjoy the challenge of getting out and capturing these different events, and it's pretty rewarding when you can capture something like this and see the results. So
Was that Venus or the moon?
that's Venus. Yeah, this was like February 2nd, so the Milky Way had just started to come up, and I think actually this image was poor planning. I think I had gone out hoping to catch the Milky Way, but didn't really think about Venus. And I got down to my spot and I was like, oh, okay. So
I'll take it.
So yeah, I think that this was still fairly early in the morning. I think it was before the time change, so it was probably like 4:30 in the morning, and and you had Venus reflecting in the water. So when you get lemons, the best thing to do is make lemonade. So
Yeah.
I tried to make an image the best that I could, and it's funny.
Fantastic work. Fantastic.
You
So,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, sometimes you just get smacked in the face by stuff. I can remember I went down to one of these spots in the wintertime, and was thinking that the moon was actually on the other side of me. And when I got to the spot that I was going to shoot, the moon was right where I was going to be shooting in the Milky Way, and I thought, "Oh, you're such an idiot! Why didn't It's just like, it would have taken literally 30 seconds to open up Stellarium and see where the moon was going to be. But no, I had it convinced that I knew what I was doing, and it just smacked me right in the face. And I was like, great. So anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to be here.
To another segment, I guess, are we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, something I wanted to mention something because we were talking about Aurora and why the KP means nothing. And I was just looking at my phone, and there's the numbers right now. 1% overhead and 10% at the horizon. KP3, the BZ number is up at -8 right now. Density's at 10, hard over, and BT's at looks like 9. And I'm just looking at the comments here. Brad says, for information, at least according to the apps, there seems to be some aurora activity shaping up right now. Haven't gone outside to look just yet. And Trudy commented back, Brad, it just ran out to check. Some green and purple happening. Not real bright, but it was just handheld for 15 seconds. So maybe you have another one to add to your collection tonight, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be going out tonight though. I would like to though, but maybe.
Yeah. We're going to have lots of opportunities, I'm sure, coming up.
Yeah.
The solar cycle is really ramping up now. Okay, let's go from there to, we're going to go to I'm going to mention the celestial wonder real quick. And what that means for us is just that, share my screen here. 1 second. Where do I have my notes right there?
Tim Doucette says it's all Skycam's getting a bit of glow to the south, or no, sorry, a bit of glow to the north of Nova Scotia.
Okay. So just go ahead.
I suspect that there's some, based on the indices, that there's some here visible in Nova Scotia. So
let's hope. Yeah. Okay. So I do have another contest coming up. It's called Shoot the Moon. It's going to start on the 14th, which is Wednesday, I guess, or Thursday, which is the start of the new moon cycle. I'm going to put details up about the contest tomorrow. It's going to be mostly directed towards kids between ages, say, 6 and 12. That's where most of the prizes are kind of fitted for, but there are a few adult prizes as well. So what I do with the contest normally is I ask you to take a picture of the moon. Don't send me a picture of the full moon when it's just on the new phase, because I'll reject it, because I know that you just didn't go and take it. That's last month's picture, not this month. So the idea running the contest is for you to go out while the moon is up and take a picture of the moon. Cell phone picture, doesn't matter what the picture quality is, send it in. It gets entered in the contest. For the kids, last time around, we ran a nice contest saying, what would you see if you looked through a telescope? And I had aliens, and I had Martians, and I had spacecraft and UFOs and all kinds of things drawn by the kids. So the kids would draw a picture, the parent would take a picture of it, send it in to me, and we enter in the prizes. So that's about the idea that we'll be running this time around. But there'll be more details coming out tomorrow. And also this event coming up at the Irving Nature Park on Friday. We had our last event was canceled at the park because of the weather. That was during the International Observe the Moon Night. So we're going to go try again on Friday evening, Irving Nature Park observing, and it's going to run, I believe it's from 6 till 9. I think it's from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock. I'll check that time, but I'll put this post up anyway. And we're going to be offering views of Jupiter, Saturn, as well as the Pleiades, things like that. So the park will open up the gates for everybody to come in for a couple hours on Friday evening, as long as the weather cooperates. If the weather is cloudy, the event will be canceled, so stay tuned for that. So that's all I wanted to share there. So that's my events of the week, not celestial events necessarily, but that's him. So Paul, do you want to take over from there?
Sure. Okay. Excuse me. All right, let me just get this set up here for Rosanna.
We are going to be about 9:30, I think, tonight, next 15 minutes here before we close out.
All right, let me just share my screen one more time, and it should be that one. And we'll see where this opens up. It's usually never in the same spot. Oh, welcome back, Rosanna, to another one of your absolutely wonderful fun facts. And let me just get that opened up here so I can, please give me 1 sec. And here we are. Okay, so.
We don't see it.
What's that?
We don't see it.
You're not sharing, Paul. Good.
I'm not sharing? Oh, I thought I did. My apologies. There we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Is you can see Rosanna? Well, here, you must listen to her too.
Okay. Oh, we got to make sure we share sound.
That's a little bit low, but that's okay. All right, so let me just go back to where I was. bring out Rosanna's fact. And there we go. And give me 1 second, I'll open it up. Okay, so Rosanna starts. She says, "Hi, Paul. Have you ever sought out the standard Christmas box of chocolates, hoping to find one of your favorites remaining, and then happily discovered, yay, there are 2 left inside instead? Christmas arrived in September this year for NASA when the OSIRS, the OSIRIS-REx asteroid capsule landed on Earth. It was charred from its high-speed fall through the Earth's atmosphere, but remained intact." Now, let me just, I got to turn this off and get the pictures working because, just 1 sec here, because my computer was doing funny things today, and this is one of them. And there we go. So, so back in 2016, it was shot into space as part of the OSIRIS-REx mission, and it was closed for several years within a spacecraft and made a 4 billion mile long journey to reach the asteroid Bennu. So where is Bennu? It's near Earth asteroid. It's a near Earth asteroid, but even close distances in space are hard for the human mind to fathom. So here's Earth. There's Bennu up there. Of course, there's the solar system. How big is Bennu? I couldn't find an estimate as to say its weight, as it is considered to be a rather loose clump of rock material held together by gravity, but I did find the chart. So here's the chart. So this is how tall is Bennu, and it is actually taller than the Empire State Building. It's taller than the Eiffel Tower, so it's actually a pretty large asteroid. When OSIRIS-REx arrived at or very close to Bennu, an arm was extended out, and the capsule was to capture about 60 grams, just over 2 ounces, for those of you who like the B-52 shots, of the rocky samples. Just a sec, I got to move the screen because it's covering part of my, over there. The rocky samples from the surface, kind of like a game of tag. The touch and go procedure surprised scientists as Bennu wasn't a nice solid object. It was kind of malleable, and when the collection arm made contact with rock, shrouds of dust particles were stirred up, causing quite a scene and almost burying the spacecraft. So this is kind of what went on when that was going on. The touchdown of the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft on asteroid Bennu, or I think it's Bennu, stirred up a massive wall of debris, and that is an image from actually from NASA. Now here's the Christmas part. Particles from the huge dust disturbance attached to the outside of the capsule and also inside the sampler head, bringing back more than 70 grams, never mind that 60 grams that remains inside still yet. Unopened capsule, it is not the first asteroid payload to return to Earth, but it is the biggest. So there it is there. That's all of that. You think this is all that they spent all that money on together, eh? But this is invaluable information. In generosity, NASA is going to share the wealth. The Canadian Space Agency will receive 4% of that payload. Now, Queen's guitarist Brian May, here he is, everybody knows who he is, has been invited to Christmas dinner as well. May and collaborators searched through images taken of Bennu's surface fragments by the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft to find opportunities to apply a technique called stereoscopy, which can basically add 3D dimension effect and illusion of depth to a 2D image. Pairs of 2D images are required for stereoscope imaging, so a parallax effect can develop from subtle differences in both images taken with slightly different viewpoints. Such viewing requires the left and the right images to be delivered separately to our left and right eyes, which is how we see in real life. When this is done, the small differences between the components of the stereo pair, known as the parallax differences, give our brains the opportunity to instantly perceive depth and solidity in the image, May explained. Now, this image that you're looking at is an image of Bennu material collected by NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission and delivered to Earth on September 24th, 2023. Scientists and citizen scientists like May are keen to get a look at the material that makes up asteroids like Bennu, because these rocky bodies are thought to be composed of matter that was present during the solar system's formation about 4.6 billion years ago. That means that these untouched asteroids could reveal the nature of material collected together long ago, gathering into overly dense patches of gas and dust that surrounded our infant sun to form what astronomers call protoplanetary disk. And just like Santa, who revisits every year, Osiris Rex, after a name change, goes to Osiris Apex, is off to another near-Earth asteroid, Ophiuchus. So who knows what Christmas treasure will be returned to Earth from here? Sorry, I already have a comment. And that is this week's.
That's fun fact.
Thank you so much,
Hey.
Rosanna. I just gotta find our meeting now so I can get my Zoom back on. Here we are. Okay, one sec, guys. I gotta.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
There we go.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Rosanna. Her fun facts are always so interesting and so timely. So
Absolutely.
forward to
Thank
them
you
every
very
week.
much. Okay, we're going to quickly get to some photos because I know we're running real late on time. You know, people want to take a chance, maybe get outside, and take a look at something. Maybe.
Yeah.
Got to be in before the streetlights come on.
Okay, let me share my screen here. I'm going to share this one here. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So guess who
Look at that.
guess who this one's from?
Haley.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah, so Haley Craswell was on our show there a couple of weeks ago. She says, "Hi, Chris. I took this photo with my Sea-Star S50 at the Greens Point Lighthouse while Mom was getting Northern Lights pictures.
Yes, sir.
I was super excited to see the Orion Nebula in the sky. She said, this shot is only 5 minutes of exposure time. Hope you like it." Of course we like it. Great
Beautiful.
job.
How old's Haley?
She's-
11? 12.
Yeah, she's just getting amazing stuff.
yeah, she's amazing. She's doing great work.
Yeah.
Good for her. Good job, Haley. Great to start with that one. Now this one came from Dwayne and Declan. He says, "Hi, Chris. My son Declan's first solar picture. We outfitted our 102 AZ with a Celestron solar filter and an Angel Eyes solar finder. We are excited to expand our observing into the daytime as well." There you go, Dwayne. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Nice.
So lots of parents getting their kids involved in this. Awesome. I'm going to go from there to this one from Duckman Arsenault. He said, "Partial sun bow in the sky as the sun moves behind the tree and horizontal light rays on both sides, which is here, I believe, taken at St. John North End on last Monday at 3 p.m.
Yeah, nice dogs.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah,
Very nice.
done. Trudy Allman sent these ones in. "Hello," she says, "ventured out to grab a photo of the moon and Venus on the 9th. Even though the moonrise was shortly after 3 a.m., it was 4 a.m. before it cleared my east tree line. Lots of turbulence in the air, and just got these photos before it moved into the clouds." So good stuff, Trudy.
Jupiter, or is that Venus? Venus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Venus.
that's Venus and the moon. Yeah.
Oh,
They were so close. We just missed the occultation.
I want to say a quick thank you to Trudy as well. Trudy is always late coming on our show. She usually joins about 10 minutes into the show because she's done so many shares. She shares it in about 20 different places,
Oh,
all
yeah.
over Facebook
Yeah.
and all different pages. So thank you, Trudy, for all you do for us.
Yes.
We do
Thank you.
appreciate it.
And thanks for the frogs.
Yeah. This one came from, hang on now, let me get this one. I think this is from Steve McLeod. If I'm right, no, this is from Brad Perry. Yeah, that's Brad's capture. Yeah, when I went to bed, he said I couldn't bring myself to set an alarm for this one, but I ended up waking up at 4:20 a.m. anyway. So well done, Brad.
Very nice.
This one is from Patrick Connolly. Another nice capture.
Mhm.
And we're looking at Steve McLeod's shot here. Hey, Steve.
There's a lot of people looking at that. Eh? It's great.
Yeah.
Price. Sent us this
Oh.
one.
Two brightest things up there, right?
Yeah, they were a nice show.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Jeff Dalton. Jeff said, "I tried taking several using a few different things, but they didn't all come out sharp and clean." He said, "Most I tried was holding up a couple of phones. Then later, even my SLR up to the eyepiece of my telescope. It was hard to get a shot because it was freezing out and windy. Yes, it was. This particular photo is going to be for a while yet, for sure, Jeff. This particular photo was with my iPhone and telescope, he said. It's been cropped a bit and the brightness levels adjusted some. So
There
but
you
still
go.
nice job. Good job,
Nice.
Jeff.
Very nice.
This one's from Diane Brown. She said, not the best shot, she said, but I caught it anyway. So there you go.
You
Yes,
did.
yes.
Yeah. And this one's from Lisa Ann Fanning from Cape May, New Jersey. Great job, Lisa.
Well, she's around a lot of nice lighthouses, eh?
Yeah. Great backgrounds for sure. This one's from Joey Craswell, taken with the Sea Star S50
Right on.
stuff.
The sea star's getting a lot of use.
Ever, eh?
Yeah. This one from Sandy Starkey. She's from her friend in Alberta. Took this one. Pretty well the same lineup, just a little bit different orientation, I guess.
Mhm.
And then Yvonne Rudiger said,
That's cool.
we were on our way to the airport around 3 a.m. and this morning and had this in front of us almost all the way. Yeah, the moon's changing it. Good
That's
stuff.
quite a sight to see.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. And Diane took this one with their Nikon D7500.
I know.
Nice. Mr. Powell's shot
There you go.
Yeah.
there. Now I'm gonna bring up a picture here from Brad Perry. He said, here's my shot of the aurora back on November 5th. This one was around 11:30 p.m. from a hill overlooking Peniac. I had gone out briefly a couple of times earlier in the night and there wasn't a lot happening. Then it clouded over. So I had pretty well written it off by the time things started to pick back up. I'm glad I dragged myself back outside because apparently it had cleared off again. And this was hands down the best aurora display I've ever seen. Not only was it naked eye visible, but I was seeing the greens in color for the first time ever. He said, I never thought I'd actually see them like this around here. Great stuff, Brad. Yeah.
Right
When
on.
was this, Chris?
Huh?
Was that back in April?
No, this is just recent. That's November 5th, last week.
Last
Oh,
week.
really? Last week? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Last week shots.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah, and so if you guys have any photos that you'd like to send in, of course, we love sharing them here. So send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com and we'd be happy to show them on our broadcast. Now, hang on a second. I got another one to show here quickly. Give me just 1 second. I'll get the video up and running. Should be this one. Okay, I'm going to bring that right back to the beginning. And I'm going to share my screen one more time because I have some aurora captures that you sent in to me when we did the aurora. I love the fact that everybody contributes their pictures when they're outside and showing us what's happening. So I had a pile of them. So I just put them in a little kind of a quick video to share. So here we go. We're going up to the right screen. Should be this one here. It's about 2 minutes long. So here we go. What happened there?
I don't
It's
know.
locked. Right in.
Got cold out and froze.
It did freeze. Shall we try again?
Deep freeze.
Maybe
Hang on.
something.
Let me stop sharing. What happened there? Oh, it's one of those nights. Bear with me. We'll do it again.
It's kind of funny where that last image was, where one of the vans were coming up. It was pointing right at Polaris.
Yeah.
And you can see exactly. Anyway, you'll see it.
I think it.
We talked about earlier, how do you find North Star?
You're probably around here somewhere.
There you go.
Awesome.
So
Nice to see that many people get out to shoot.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, that's all the images that I got. So if you guys get out again and get some more captures, we'd love to get them in here, as you can see. So please share them here with us. And we're gonna call that an evening, I think, for tonight. Is the aurora visible tonight? Okay, what I'm saying is that here we go with the questions.
Go out and have a look.
Yeah.
Go and have a look. Yeah, right now the numbers are looking favorable at the moment. But I can't say any more than that. I'll have to take a harder look once you get off the show here.
Yeah, it's showing KP5 just flipped over, and BZ is -8. So I would say that you'd be able to see something right now.
So there you go. We got it from a professional. Thanks, Jason.
North.
If you don't get this, Jason, your email address is, if you don't get to see them.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, let me get to our closing notes here because we're getting a little bit later. So that is our show for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Special thanks, of course, to Jason Dain for joining us this evening. Jason, great to have
Thank you very
you.
much, Jason.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing the program with us. We hope that you'll come back and join us again in the future sometime.
Yeah, anytime.
Great.
If we haven't scared you away.
Oh, good.
Special thanks, of course, goes out to Rosanna as well for a fabulous fun fact segment. Thank you, Rosanna. Always a great pleasure to have it on the show. Trudy as well for sharing us to so many places. We'd also like to make a comment between the three of us. I think that for all of the thank you comments that or the congratulations comments that we received on the post that we put up about the asteroid that was named after us, which is quite a big honor. So we want to say thank you for everybody who acknowledged that, and really do appreciate the comments. It was really nice.
As well, we tack an RO on the end of it for Roseanne because she's as much part of this as we are, I think. So
Yeah, that's it.
Remember too, we do love getting your photos, to send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to share them on our next broadcast. And a special thanks again to our friends at Rogers for joining us this evening. So until next week, guys, we always say, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes.
Yeah.
And let me share our closing screen, and then we'll sign off. And we should be here, I think.
You're
Yeah,
good.
this is us. Here we go.
ta-da.